Job costing. Two words that have more power to scare service-based businesses, construction-based businesses, and even accountants. Why? Because tracking employee time can be one of the toughest things to do, especially when you're trying to figure out project profitability through job costing. During today's video, we're going to introduce TSheets' new project feature, which ties together with QuickBooks Online Projects and QuickBooks Online Payroll. This powerful trio helps simplify the job costing process. You're not going to want to miss today's video, tracking employee time for job costing with TSheets. Hi everybody, Matthew Fulton with Parkway.Business Solutions. Thank you so much for joining us for another video. Today, we're going to dive into TSheets and the way we can connect it with QuickBooks Online. But first, I want to show you one of the new features that I believe is still in beta inside of TSheets, but it's actually pretty cool. One of the most common things we're always asked when it comes to projects and job costing and everything else has to do with how do I track my time and how do we get that time allocated to different jobs. So recently in TSheets, I noticed we had this project's beta showing up. So what's cool about this is because we have this linked to QuickBooks Online, it's actually syncing and pulling the jobs or the projects that we have listed there into TSheets. What you can then do is you can actually come into here and open up one of the different projects, and you can create an estimate inside here based off of a couple different things. So you're basically trying to say, hey, I think it's going to take, let's say, in this scenario, we actually have it set up where service items happen to be like billable hours, like if it was a software development company. So you can do multiple service items listed. As you'll see here, we'll go select an item, and we will choose for this one. It's going to be back-end development, and we'll say that it's going to have 50 hours at that. We'll add on front-end development also. 25, and we expect it's going to have some UI UX design, and we'll put that at 30. So we're basically giving a listing of all the different items we're expecting we would use inside of this project, and we can go add estimate. So now this is going to it's going to allocate 105 hours over time itself. The other thing you can do is you can do a date progress also. So if we go add dates, we can have our project name, our customer shows up here. All that stuff would be modified in QuickBooks if you need to change anything. But let's do a start date, and let's pretend we started this on December 1st, and we're going to go project end date. We're going to say is going to be January 31st. You can add additional details onto here. If we actually had for the customer, if we had the address built into this, then that information would show up onto here automatic, or we can add it for GPS tracking. So really the purpose of it there is like if you have service-based company and you're using this feature, that it would remind people to check in when they get to the job, as TSheets can do for you. But for this situation, we'll just leave that stuff alone. We're going to hit save. So now we've basically given this project an idea of how many estimated hours and a rough idea of a time frame of what we're looking for. This becomes really powerful because with the TSheets account, especially if you are a QuickBooks Pro advisor and you have it set up this way, then you have the ability to get this scheduling functionality for your clients as well for special pricing. Now you can start scheduling this stuff out, and as you're using up the hours, it's going to go back against that project. So if I go back to all projects, I'll show you one where we're just kind of putting some hours in. So here's another one we had where it was basically we expect it was going to be 250 hours, but the total hours worked so far broken out by person, 66 and 26, give us our amount that have actually been worked, and it's showing the date progress as it's going along. So you can keep track and see if you're on task or not. So now the information that you're seeing here, all the details on the estimate aspect, that's for use inside of TSheets. It could be used for reporting inside of TSheets, and it does not. The estimates do not push into QuickBooks Online directly, But the hours, of course, that are allocated, that stuff, of course, would be shared across. So I'm in my fake company file here for QuickBooks Online Advanced. Go to Projects here. I always give that little warning, it's a fake company, so if you see stuff that seems a little out of whack, it's because we use it for testing all the time. But if I come down into here, we can see we haven't done anything specifically on this job yet, right? But if we look at this one here, and we come into our time activities, we can see the two different people and the services that were offered, the total amount of time on these ones, whether we chose to do a cost on them or not, and then whether it was billable time or not as well. Now the total cost part of this here, not to go too far on a side tangent, but that has to do with if you come to your projects and you have your hourly cost rate here filled in. So let's real quickly, I'm going to go back to TSheets and let's just go into and create some hours into the project we were just doing basically. So I'm going to fake some hours up here real quick. We'll go to time clock and we're going to choose under, let's see here, we're going to actually change the person. So we're going to go time entries. I take that back. We'll go to manual add time. I'm going to change the person I want this to be for, and that's because I need somebody who's actually inside of QuickBooks Online. So choosing the person, I could actually do time in, time out, all those kind of details. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. We're just going to go to duration. We're going to go and say we started off on Tuesday here. We'll choose our customer, of course. And the way you name projects is really important just because of when you're doing stuff like this. You want to make sure you always get the right item, of course. So we choose this one, and now we just talked about I could still choose whatever service item I wanted, but I know that I'm going to be looking to do front end and rear end development onto this. It is going to be billable in this one, and we are going to say we put in 6 hours on this one. I'm going to choose to keep this open on purpose and hit save. Now, by keeping this open, you can have a setting to where it keeps all of these details exactly the same if you know you're putting in multiple days, just to kind of expedite the process a bit. So the next day, we'll go here, and this one we're going to say we did 3 hours of time. And then same day, we're going to say we did another 4 hours. But this one we're going to say we did for somebody else. This one's going to go to Greg. And back end, yes. Change your note. Save. So once we've done all of these details, right, I can come into here, and normally it would be a full week of time, but let's pretend we put a whole bunch of extra hours in and so forth. I would then come in and do my approvals, right? So I'm a manager now. We would look at the period here. We'll go by pay period, run report. And for this specific period of time, it looks like we've got the following hours. I can click here, of course, and it will break out and show me all of the items we just put in for each person and the breakout of what they were for the different jobs. So let's go, and we're just going to go approve these ones. And once these are basically approved, I can export approved time, or I can really just come right back over to here. And I have payroll set up onto this as well. So we're going to come in, we'll go to our overview, I guess, for payroll. And actually, I should come up and go plus approved time because I've made this connection between the two, okay? And by going to approved time, all right, so by pay period, boom, we're going to see my same hours that we talked about before. Still see the same breakout also, okay? And we're going to approve both of these times. Well, they've already been approved, I should say. And now I'm going to go, I could do accept and close, or I can actually go accept and run payroll. Now, once this actually pulls up, you're going to see basically it's going to pull right into the paycheck, and it's showing the total hours that we were expecting inside of here. But I'm going to actually back out of this real quick, And let's go take a look at that hourly cost calculator for each of the employees so we can show you exactly how that impacts a project itself. And from projects, I'm going to go up to my hourly cost rate. So if you notice here, under Mary, we have a cost rate that's actually been calculated. It's been set up inside here. If I click on the pencil and the calculator, the way this was established, I'll cancel back out, but we basically, the hourly rate she's being paid and the employer taxes are automatically being added in. We would then add on our additional employer taxes, the workers' comp amount, and the overhead. I have another video that we did specifically on how to use this hourly cost rate calculator on our YouTube channel, so we'll try to link back to that in the description. So I'm going to hit cancel because I just want to keep what I've got there at the moment, but I'm purposely going to leave mine blank. So based on the hourly cost rates, as we see here, Mary is set up at $29.06, and for myself, I don't have anything established whatsoever. It's important to know that whatever the rate is that's set up here will impact how the cost is landed inside the project. And when I talk about cost inside the project itself, it's important to note that we're talking about for the visual representation of the suggested profit of a project. It doesn't actually change or impact your financial, year-end financials, of course. So what I've done is I pulled up a project we had here. This was Numbers Guide, the one we were just playing with, basically. And if we were to look at the couple hours I had put in, we had the 4 and 4 hours here. You'll see that there's a total cost on each of these of 0, but we did mark it as billable for 4 hours because the whole amount. And if I go look at the actual item itself, so let's open this up here. The bill rate was set at 120. So that's why it did the calculation of giving us what the total billable amount would be. So this is one of the scenarios that could show up. So now if we scroll down and we look at Mary from a prior period that I had already approved, we can see that Mary actually had 6 hours that was considered for total cost and was billable. So the 6 hours, if we divided the 174 by the 6 hours, gave us our $29.06 that we saw in that hourly cost calculator. In this scenario also, this was considered billable, so it showed in the project $720 would be the billable amount. It's possible that you can have the same scenario where it's not billable and you just have the expense incurred, but you don't actually have anything to bill out for. Now, all of these different time entries, if I come into my transactions under the same project now, you're going to notice it has created these time charges for everything that we did. So if we actually put the memos in, it's displayed here as well. And I can then come in and create an invoice for these. So I'll click Create Invoice. And then once this pulls up, it's going to pull all the details being linked. And from that point, I can also add on any additional pending ones here. I can choose whether I want to group them or not. So let's say grouped by service here. So this is going to do a combining of all of them. So just be one quick push. Or we'll go don't group here. And general rule of thumb is you always want to have your shelf empty. If you know the shelf is empty, you know you're pretty much good to go. So at this point, using QuickBooks Online Advanced also, it now gives you the ability that you've got all of the custom fields you could be using to track the additional data points also. So once I've done this, I could actually change these rates if I wanted to. So let's take some of these and we'll actually take it to 0. So we're basically saying that we decide those would not be billable. Now I can choose my dating however I would want, and I'm just going to go save and close on this one. So now we've got an invoice that's showing up inside of our project that's open, haven't received the payment on it. The total of income is all right here as well, right? But our cost still is nothing because we haven't done any billing. We didn't actually do that payroll yet. So now let's go back to our payroll real quick, and we're going to run the fake checks for that pay period. One of the beautiful things with TSheets is you can have the different pay types. You can even have like wage 1, wage 2, overtime, vacation, sick, so forth. And you can map how all of those should be directly tagged into the payroll with QuickBooks Online. So I'm going to go by pay period. Boom. Already had this. It's already showing that's approved. So we're just going to go accept. We'll click the ones we want to do. We'll go accept and run payroll. And we've got our 13 hours and 30 hours here. And we'll go preview payroll. Have all our details on it, and we'll go submit payroll as well. Yay, payroll's done. So I'm not actually going to go through and do taxes because I'll go back in and delete these in a little bit so I can keep making videos. So if we come back into projects here and we go into the one we were, the hours we had just basically put in, now we're seeing very specifically the attributed hours, 9 hours we actually just billed for, showing that we still expect another 41 as well. So that got attributed directly to it, which is great. Now, once you've had the time to actually go in, put some data into these projects, create some estimates, basically do some work inside of these. Again, we had gone in and ran some hours through our estimate. We saw that the breakout was here. What you can do with this information is do specialized reporting specifically in TSheets. The way that you go about that, you're going to come over to your reports and you're going to go to project report. Once this pulls up, standard reporting functionality by week, by pay period. Let's do a custom date range. And this one we're going to say we'll do it for this quarter basically. So we'll go out to our first forward. You could choose a team member or multiples if you wanted to. And you can choose how you want the hours to be shown, the sorting, all the basic details as you can see on the screen here. On purpose, I'm not going to choose any of the billable, not billable, or service items because I want everything. So let's go ahead and hit run report. And now you're going to see this very big, this visual representation of a project report. Total hours, you're seeing by the customer, the breakout. You're seeing different groups. If we had different groups of employees, we broke it out there, different team members, billable versus not, your different service items that were used. But what I really like is if you come here and you go to your team member job costing. From here, we're going to use our same custom date ranges we just talked about. I'm going to go calculate grand totals, and I want to group by job code. And then I'm also going to have it add the service items because in my scenario, again, we created items which were like equivalent to billable hours. And we'll go run report. And I love this report, the way this thing ends up looking. What you have here is literally a report that's all organized by the job itself, who worked on it, the total, the service item, regular rate, your regular hours. If we had overtime, that would be here as well. And then this would actually calculate over to give you total estimated cost, all for this specific project. So if I come back over now and I look at Lisa, the one we had just been playing with, we can see that my regular rate here, my hours, so the estimated cost, and based off of that, you would have your total estimated cost for the entire project. So I really love some of the reporting stuff that can be done inside of here. This can also then be used, of course, to download to a CSV. So with just a little bit of modification of how you export that report, we could do a lot of different ways that you could use that information for your true project profitability, workers' comp reporting. So additional ways that this can be kind of filtered and modified. Billable versus not billable, right? So now you've got all of them kind of combined together, just having which ones to be billable or not, whether you want the grand totals or not. We can do, if you were using classes, that could be done as well. If we do more of that flat file like I was talking about, just very basic information. Your downloaded timesheets, of course, and let's see, we can go to view timesheets also. So these ones, they've done a great job of really making this look nice and exporting the PDF to where it's very useful information. And as they continue to grow this integration with QuickBooks Online, we're going to start seeing a lot more useful information to get us much closer to that true concept of, project job costing inside QuickBooks Online. So I hope this video demonstrating the connectivity between TSheets and QuickBooks Online projects was helpful. Now, if you do have additional questions about the best ways to use projects, you can, of course, reach out to us through our Facebook group, QB Community Live, or reach out to us at Parkway. So as always, here's wishing you a very successful week.